Hi, I'm Mike Frisch, a psychology professor from Baylor University. With me today is Dr. Alex Michaelos. Today is November 12, 2004, and we are at the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. This project is made possible through the generous support of the Gallup International Positive Psychology Center and the International Society for Quality of Life Studies. Dr. Michaelos of the University of Northern British Columbia was trained in logic and philosophy of science at the University of Chicago. Over the past 30 years, he has published 23 books and 85 articles. He became a preeminent researcher and pioneer in quality of life by trying to answer Plato's question, what is the good life? Dr. Michaelos, to paraphrase Plato, what is the good life and how do we get it?
I'm glad you started with something easy. But basically, the good life for us is very much like the good life for Plato. If you have somebody who is relatively healthy, has someone around to love him or her, has secure income, decent housing, and feels pretty good about their life, that person's living a good life. If that's not it, I don't know what it would be.
Okay. Well, I wanted to ask you a little bit about college students. In your book, Global Report on Student Well-Being, you surveyed some 18,000 students from 39 countries. Can you tell us what predicts satisfaction or happiness in college students?
For that group, it was mainly two things. It was and these go back to the Greeks too, but it was the perceived gap between what people had, what the students had, and what they wanted to have, and also the gap between what they had and what they thought average people of their own age and gender had. Those were the two main predictors. And those you can find in Aristotle, 3rd century BC.
Okay. Well, let's move from the micro to the macro. What about the quality of life for an urban or rural community? Let's go to that level.
For that level, based on my evidence, I would go back to what I said in the first place. If you take that range of good health, security, someone around that loves you, and a general positive attitude toward life, that's good life.
Are there different challenges for finding the good life in an urban versus rural community?
Yes, in a word. But I think it depends on the community. But some people have studied various size communities, and they found that a community of about 100,000 gives you the critical mass to have the kinds of symphonies, libraries, hospitals, sorts of things you'd like to have.
Very good. Well, I'd like to ask you now what advice you could give to those interested in a career in happiness research, quality of life, or positive psychology.
Today, there are more opportunities than there ever were for people with these kinds of interests. And for psychologists in particular, I think there are a lot of opportunities, both because psychologists tend to forced to be trained in psychometrics, so they have some good understanding of statistics, but they also get a heavy dose of theory around social relations and social psychology generally. So with that kind of a background, you can work in government, you can work in HR, human resources departments in companies, and you can even do private consulting. I'm sure there are more opportunities now for people with that sort of interest than there ever have been.
That's wonderful. How might someone get started who's watching our program?
It depends where they are. I suppose I would talk to the instructor, the counselors that they have wherever they are, and I'm sure all universities and all high schools and all community colleges have an employment office with electronic access to all kinds of jobs related to a psych degree.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.